Round 10, done and dusted. Is every game of the round on a weeknight during the week. So the round started on Monday and ended on the Friday, which is bizarre, but, you know, it's 2020. Stranger things have happened, and it's just another strange thing in this AFL season. Yeah, there's some interesting games. What do you think? Think the Tigers were the pick of the bunch from the week? What do you reckon?
Well, for starters, I reckon I can get used to seeing games during the week. I quite enjoyed it. It was good to watch, something to keep me busy during the week. But yeah, in regards to the Tigers, lids off. We've got the flag. We've got the flag. It's ours. Just give it to us now.
Very impressive. You just looking. It's just the form is just ominous, and it's very similar to last season, isn't it? Where you're just making that run at the right time, and geez, and you've still got players out too. It's scary.
Yeah, well, like I said, we're still missing about 5 premiership players. So, I am very excited for what's to come. Just hopefully we can keep the form up.
That's it. Big talking point, though, from the week's games was the medal stud saga that came from the Collingwood-Sydney game and left Isaac Quaynor with a horrific gash on his leg.
That was honestly disgusting. It's one of those ones you've almost got to warn people before you show them because it was that awful to look at.
I didn't think a stud could cause that much damage.
Well, now I know why in junior footy the umpires used to make the teams line up and lift the back of their boots up so they could have a quick look. I've never understood why, but it makes sense now. That was nasty.
Oh, it's crazy. I just couldn't believe it's caused that much damage. That was a real deep gash, wasn't it?
Yeah, it's just split straight down the middle and the skin's just gone, separated. It was, it wasn't good to look at.
I think the AFL has come out, though, and said, yeah, you can't be wearing metal studs from now on. But who knows how many other players have been wearing them?
Well, that's the thing. This is the first time something's come of it. But, I mean, but obviously it's always been a rule that metal studs aren't that's why I'm surprised they haven't fined the Sydney. They haven't fined them. They just gave them a warning. I thought, well, you've breached a rule and someone's paid the price for it. Why would there be no punishment?
Yeah, exactly right. I know. So, but it's well, if it's causing injuries like that, then they need to they definitely need to ban them, which they have done. So you can't be having players copping injuries like that.
No.
But something that probably overshadows that saga was the bizarre sexual harassment saga that's come out over the last 48 hours. In particular, the one with your mob, the Tigers. Give us your thoughts on that, and is it? Please tell me it's just not just me that's thinking this is a massive overreaction.
No, I mean, in my eyes, definitely an overreaction. I think anyone that thinks that there's more to this than what there is obviously never played football or has hung out with a group of guys before, because that's just something, it's just something blokes do. It's not, and to say that, and a lot of people said, oh no, but Chol was targeted. I think Hugh Remington, the reporter that kept going on about it, said, does every Richmond premiership player cop this, or is it just the black one? Well, if you looked at the footage, Jack Rewalt went and slapped Jaden Short on the balls and no one said a word because it doesn't, as you said earlier, it doesn't suit the narrative. So I think it's definitely blown out of proportion. If the individual is uncomfortable with it, then I guess different story. But, Chol came out and said that, he's got no issue with it. And there's a vision of him smiling and laughing. Yeah, okay, you can always fight the argument that, maybe, he doesn't want to ruin the team's culture or the team's, view and that sort of stuff. But I don't know. I think we're at the day and age now where you can say, don't do that, and everyone's going to, no one's going to hold anything against you for it. But I think, it was definitely looked into more than what it was. And it doesn't help that now Dan Butler from St Kilda got seen doing it as well. So it looks like it's a culture at Richmond now. Yeah,
but it's, as you said, if Chol had an issue with it, fair enough. Like that's when we can talk about, stopping it. But it just looked like a bit of fun. And he, as I said, he came out and said, he doesn't have a problem with it at all. And especially with the Butler one as well, he groped his ass. That happens every game, every week. at training
Yeah.
on match days. It's not. It's just the thing that sort of happens within footy clubs. You're tapping like if we're gonna, it's just becoming way too precious now, and like everything offends people.
Oh,
It's becoming a joke. And yeah, I think the only reason why it should be a problem is if the player that's copying it has a problem with it. It's a joke for mine.
Yeah, look, I agree. It's probably not a good look, especially on live TV. There's little kids watching. You probably didn't need to do it. During the song, you're being, filmed and you're on TV while it's happening. Maybe you don't do it then, but yeah, it's obviously, like I said, not a good look. But I think the fact that they've tried to make it a racial thing and they've, said,
Yeah.
It's targeted Chol because it's happened twice, but then they don't look at the same footage where it's happened to another player that's white and no one says anything about that. I think you're picking and choosing what suits your narrative and you're trying to make a story out of nothing, in my eyes anyway.
Correct. Yeah. It's you've hit the nail on the head with that one. But we'll move on from that and we'll get into the games from the round. So way back on Monday night, we had Port Adelaide and the Bulldogs at Adelaide Oval, and Port look like they're back to their best with a pretty convincing win in the end after a pretty dominant first half from the Dogs. But yeah, Port look very good. What do you reckon? Are they still up there in pick for the flag?
Well, they're looking very scary. They're definitely looking very scary. I mean, they're sitting at the top of the ladder for a reason. So they should definitely be in contention when we're talking about who's going to win the flag. The Bulldogs, they've been inconsistent this year, but they're not easy to belt like they did. And Port just sort of, really had their way with them in that second half of the game. So, yeah, definitely a scary side.
Yeah, for sure. I mean, the Bulldogs definitely in the first half were the better side. They just couldn't convert. They had that. I mean, they smashed Port Adelaide in inside 50s, but they just couldn't convert. And as good teams do, they'll make you pay, and that's exactly what Port Adelaide did. And they were led by Tom Rockcliffe, who he was dropped for a couple of weeks there, but he's found his form again, and he absolutely dominated that game. And that brings us into the votes for the game. So we gave Tom Rockcliffe 3 votes, 2 votes to Peter Laddams, who's been a very good ruckman for him this season, and 1 vote to Zach Butters. The game on the Tuesday night was between Richmond and Brisbane from Metricon Stadium, and as we said before, the lid is off at Tigerland, isn't it?
The lid is officially off for me. The lid is officially off. But same. And this is similar to the game we just spoke about. Brisbane definitely had their chances to convert, but they just couldn't kick straight. They kicked, I think, 4 goals, 17 points or something like that for the game. And, you turn even less than half, 7 of those points into goals, and all of a sudden it's a tight game. So I think the scoreboard probably flattered Richmond a bit, considering the amount of inside 50s and chances that goal Brisbane actually did have. But in saying that, Richmond converted when it counted, and we did play a really good brand of footy, especially with our young blokes. So I thought, as I said, lid is off. Tigers are looking scary again with the gameplay and the style that they use. But yeah, I wouldn't be writing Brisbane off because of that result.
No, absolutely not. No, definitely don't write Brisbane off. As you said, they kicked a lot of points, so they had their chances. But in saying that, Richmond were just they were just smooth, and they just moved the ball so well, and their pressure game's just elite, and it's good to see. It's just Richmond are just the form that they've shown over the last couple or 2-3 seasons is just continued on, and just when you think the rain might be over, they just they come back and put in performances like that. So they're looking very scary. But the votes for that game, so we gave 1 vote to Shai Bolton, 2 votes to Dusty Martin, who's finding some serious form now, and 3 votes to Liam Baker. All right, the game on the Wednesday was between Geelong and North Melbourne at the Gabba. The Cats are looking much better this season. They're looking a lot more consistent than previous seasons. They seem to be winning the games that they're meant to, and and then really challenging the teams that just above them. So, been saying that North are pretty gallant. They got pretty close, but the Cats were just too strong in the end. What were your thoughts on the Cats?
Yeah, I agree with exactly what you just said. The Cats are definitely looking like a lot more consistent side than usual. But yeah, they're just looking pretty classy at the moment. The way they move the ball, they know where each other are at all time. Like, it's just really good football to watch them play. And like you said, North were gallant. And they played a good game, and Geelong really held their ground and didn't take North for granted and just played their game of football and got the job done at the end.
Yeah, they did. Yeah. So yeah, whenever like North were challenging them, and then Geelong just had an answer for everything, which is a sign of a really good team, and they'll be up there come season's end again. Mitch Duncan's having a great season as well for the Cats. I know he made our mid-year All-Australian team, and rightly so. He's probably been Geelong's best player this season, which takes us into our votes. So we go 1 vote to Brian Myers, 2 votes to Mitch Duncan, and 3 votes to Sam Menegola. The other game on the Wednesday was between Adelaide and Melbourne at Adelaide Oval. Now this game, it threatened to be an Adelaide win until the last quarter, where Melbourne piled on 7 goals. But I don't know. What do you think? That's for me. If I was a Melbourne supporter, I still wouldn't be overly happy with that.
No, and as a Melbourne supporter, you wouldn't be, because Adelaide this year. Yeah. You'd be happy with a 7-goal final quarter to really put the nail in the coffin, but you'd want a more consistent performance for the whole game. And like you said, the Crows were threatening to get their first win, and which is scary as a Melbourne supporter, because you don't want teams like that getting near you, and it just goes to show that maybe Melbourne aren't where they're supposed to be at the moment. Yeah,
exactly right. Like Adelaide, they had their chances. They were just so wasteful. They played like a bottom side. They were just so wasteful, and if it was a better side on the day, Melbourne probably don't win that game. But yeah, then they had that 7-goal final quarter, which they actually looked very good in that last quarter, Melbourne. So, but still not convincing enough for mine. Votes for that game, we go 1 vote to Matt Crouch, 2 votes to Christian Petrarca, and 3 votes to Clayton Oliver, who definitely played his best game for the season. Thursday night games, we had Collingwood and Sydney at the Gabba, and Collingwood's still not convincing at all.
Nah, it was a sloppy game to watch. Mind you, they did have a couple of injuries, from Treloar, and as we said before, Isaac Quainer. I know Maynard went off for a little bit with an injury scare, came back on though. But they're not. I don't know. You go back, 4 or 5 weeks ago, and they were up there with premiership favourites, and now no one knows what to think of the Pies at the moment. I know they're depleted, but yeah, they're not very. I don't know. They just look lost. How do you feel about the Pies?
Yeah, well, people have come out, after this game and said they're no threat this season. Just with the injuries that they've got and the form that they're in, it's not looking great for them. A lot of their senior players are out. Like Pendlebury's still a while off. Treloar just keeps doing his hamstring, every few weeks, and with the off-field stuff that's been happening as well, it just doesn't feel like this is their year for Collingwood. They might struggle to make the 8. For me, they haven't, like, their last month hasn't been too good, and in a short season, it's already round 10, round 11 next week. There's only 6 games left, and I don't know. For me, I think they're out of it. I think if anything, at best, they'll sneak into the finals, but I don't know. It's Collingwood though. We could easily be proven wrong. But yeah, what do you reckon? You reckon they're just going to sneak in?
Yeah, I think they will sneak in. I think they'll put it together in the last few weeks. I reckon they'll sneak in, but I don't see them being a threat for the flag or anytime soon. No threat for the flag, but they'll play. I think they'll play finals.
Yeah, but before we do move on from that game, how's the staging from Tom Papley?
Soft. That's pretty much it. Soft. Yeah. It's not what our game is about, and it's honestly a bad look. And the worst part about this is it proves Alistair Clarkson right, which I hate saying.
Exactly.
Clarko said it last week. Everyone laughed at him, and then look what happened the week after. So poor from Tom Papley, who is such a good player. He doesn't need to be doing that.
Exactly right. He has such a good season, and that sours it a little bit, which wasn't great. And I'm glad he did get fined for it, because it deserves something. Votes for that game, we go 1 vote to Jake Lloyd, 2 votes to Josh Dacos, and 3 votes to Taylor Adams.
How was Dacos' goal, by the way, before we move on?
Amazing goal. Amazing
He's
goal.
starting to look like his old man, isn't he?
Yeah, and just in the moment as well. I think Collingwood were only a couple of points up, and then for him to kick that at the end to sort
Check
of
side from
to
the
seal it,
boundary line.
yeah,
Oof.
fantastic. The other game on the Thursday was between Gold Coast and St Kilda. This was a ripping game. The ex-Tiger Tam Butler just at it again, isn't he?
Oh, he's making us look stupid for getting rid of him. But I tell you what, this was definitely, everyone was sitting on the edge of their seat for this game. It was, in my eyes, game of the round. But it was just excitement all over the ground, especially, it came down to the last couple of minutes of the game. As you said, Butler dominated. You had Rankin taking speckies, kicking clutch goals. It had everything you wanted in the game of football.
Yeah, it was fantastic. And again, Gold Coast lose no fan from that. They had their chances to win as well, and I think we know now that Gold Coast are definitely a much more rounded side. They're competitive now, and they're no longer a basket case, which is good to see. But that win puts St Kilda second, which is incredible.
I know people have been skeptical in the Saints, but surely by now people are believing in the Saints. They have to.
I feel like, absolutely. I 100% think they should be, but in a season where fans can't go to the game, St Kilda's only won one flag. Can you imagine if they win it this season and none of their fans can go? That would be heartbreaking.
You'd rather not win it.
Yeah,
I feel.
Especially St Kilda.
Yeah, that's what I mean. Like, for me, I mean, not trying to brag, but for me, seeing 2 flags in the last 3 years, if we win it this year and I wasn't there, it'd be disappointing, but I'd be like, oh well, like you know what I mean. Like you'd be happy with the win, but yeah, as a Saints supporter especially, you'd be filthy if the Saints won it this year.
God, I mean, they wouldn't be complaining, but geez, that would be tough to take.
And you just don't know how long your premiership window's open for either. So you might win it this year and next year not make the 8. So you really don't know.
Yep. I know that would be, geez, I know a few Saints supporters that would be absolutely heartbroken with that. But anyway, we'll get in. G'day, Richo. I hope you're listening. Right, we'll go to the votes for that game. We'll give 1 vote to Touk Miller, 2 votes to Jack Steele, and 3 votes to Dan Butler. The final game of the round was on Friday night between Essendon and GWS, and geez, this game was filled with a bit of controversy, wasn't it? Which we love, by the way.
We do love the controversy, but yeah, it was another diving scandal. At the end of the game with Callum Ward definitely milking the free kick he got awarded at the end of the game. Although people say that won them the game, people forget the Giants were already winning at that point. They were only up by a couple of points, but they were still in front at that stage of the game with 1.5 minutes to go. So, I mean, still milked it. Obviously, what do you think? You reckon he'll cop a fine for this?
I think so. But I think the free kick was there, but the way he carried on with it was not a great look. So it wouldn't surprise me if he did cop something. It's just disappointing because Callum Ward is one of the toughest players going around, and for him to do that is not great for just his reputation in general. And I feel like it's a bit unfair to for him to cop that criticism. I mean, like he's brought it on himself, but it doesn't reflect the way Callum Ward usually plays, which is a bit disappointing. But yeah, I think he'll definitely cop something. I reckon. Do you reckon you'll? I mean, it's not in the same category as Papley, but still, it's still something.
No, yeah, not in the same category as Papley, but if the AFL wants to stop staging, which everybody does, they'll have to do something. They'll have to fine him something. $500 for a player that earns as much as they do. It's not a lot for them, but it does also, make you think twice before you dive in front of the ball. But the biggest question I've got for this is, problems with Essendon. Can they hold a lead? Because they definitely, at half time, I switched the telly off and got ready for bed. And then I only turned it back on in the last quarter when I saw the Giants were back. But they can't seem to hold a lead. Yeah,
they can't. They really can't. It's a bit concerning for the Bombers. I mean, in saying that, they absolutely dominated GWS up until half time. But you just knew with the talent that GWS have in their side that they were always going to come at them at some stage. But yeah, the Bombers are looking, they're just looking very shaky, and I don't know what to make of them, to be honest. They're a very hard side to read. I mean, like sometimes they're world beaters, and then they can just, put in terrible performances. So, I think there's concern. I don't think they're going to play any part in this season. I don't know. Can you see them making finals?
Oh, not unless the the rest of the games they play this year are like the first half of the season for them, and they string together some really good footy. But that, like Collingwood, that I reckon they're a chance to squeeze into the 8, but I don't think they'll be very damaging.
No, not at all. But we'll go to the votes for that game. We'll go 1 vote to Zach Merritt, 2 votes to Stephen Canelio, and 3 votes to Tim Taranto. And that is all the games from round 10 done. But as we're doing at the moment, we're condensing the review and the previews into one. So we'll get straight into round 11, which starts straight away. It's got 2 big games on the Saturday. So the first one is Port Adelaide and Richmond at Adelaide Oval, which is going to be an absolute beauty. And I'll let you preview that one.
My pleasure. Well, it's a primetime game, but not in a primetime spot, the 4:35. But no, like you said, it is a big game, and it's a big test for both clubs. So Port Adelaide, although they're top of the ladder, and like we said before, they're definitely a very dangerous team. To knock off a Richmond in the form that they're in will definitely, solidify their spot at the top, not just position-wise, but in terms of, how good they actually are as a club. And same thing for Richmond. Richmond are marching their way back towards finals now, and to knock off Port Adelaide would be huge for the Tigers too. So, and both sides have got a lot of young talent. I know Port are known for their younger players that are sort of dominating at the moment, and Richmond are, had a lot of young players in covering for the outs that we have, and both are doing great. So I think it'll be just a great contest of, like I said, just younger guys going at it, but at the highest level. So the only thing that worries me is both Richmond's coming off a 4-day break and Port off a 5-day break. Could this produce some poor quality from both sides?
I don't think so. I think these two sides are good enough to still put in good performances. I did notice that Richmond are managing a couple of players. I know Cochin's out with management. So I think both teams, they're rejuvenating quite well. And I think the quality of these two teams will make this a pretty good game. I know Richmond have been a part of a couple of very, very poor defensive games this season, but I can't see this one being a fizzer. And I'm going to tip Richmond in a real close one.
Yeah, I'm the same. I always stick with my Tigers, obviously, but I'm tipping the Tigers by a small margin.
Yeah. The other game on the Saturday is Brisbane and the Bulldogs at the Gabba. Both sides needing to bounce back after disappointing losses last week, and in particular the Bulldogs, who need to stay in touch with the top 8, and they can't really afford too many losses. But Brisbane at the Gabba is a very hard task, isn't it?
Yeah, 100%. The Brisbane at their home deck with the crowd as well. It all kind of stacks against the Bulldogs at the moment. But like you said, maybe that determination to sort of stay in the top 8 and, play finals will get them over the line. But I think Brisbane would have spent a lot of time in front of goals this weekend, and they won't be missing too much as they get forward. So I can't see the Bulldogs beating Brisbane at their home deck, but I think it'll be a good game either way.
Yeah, for sure. And I think, if the Bulldogs lose this one, I think that rules out their top 4 hopes. And they'll be clinging on to a top 8 spot as well. So massive game, and Brisbane win, that can solidify a top 2, top 4 spot. I think they'll definitely finish in the top 4 this season. And with the way things are going, their finals look like they'll be either in Queensland or Perth, and that'll help Brisbane immensely. So I think the Lions by a couple of goals in this one.
Yeah.
Right, Sunday. We've got West Coast and Carlton at Optus Stadium, and the Blues need a response after their shocking loss to Hawthorn last week, and against an Eagles side who are looking, if Richmond are looking scary, West Coast are even scarier, and it scares me to even talk about this game. But I think the Carlton do play better against the the higher sides. They've always put in like really strong performances. But the thing is, like, I can see Carlton competing really well against West Coast in this game, but just falling short, which they are known to do, and get that honourable loss is what they like to say. But no, I can't see Carlton winning this game. West Coast are just way too strong, especially at home. And but the Blues definitely need to respond after last week's horror show after quarter time and in leading Hawthorn just dominate them like that. I don't know. Can you make a case for the Blues here?
Look, I was going to say, same as you, I can't see the Blues beating West Coast, not at home, not in the form the Eagles are in. But in saying that, Carlton are the type of team that would pull a win against a side like this, like they did with Geelong earlier in the year, down in Geelong. Like you said, they had a bad game against Hawthorn, who were a side they should have beaten, and then it just wouldn't surprise me to see them come out and knock off the Eagles unexpectedly. But I think it's the effort that the Blues put in will be what everyone's looking for. Like you said, they really let themselves down against Hawthorn, and they need to show like the effort and the endeavour, and just play the way proper Blues footy. And like you said, I think it'll keep them in the game definitely. But same as you, I'm still going to tip the West Coast for this one.
Yeah, for sure. Yeah, I think West Coast at their best, Carlton at their best. West Coast still wins. So West Coast by a couple of goals for mine. The other game on the Sunday is between Melbourne and North Melbourne at the Adelaide Oval, which is weird to say, but it is another big chance for North to grab a win against the Melbourne side that isn't too convincing just yet. So Melbourne are coming off a much needed win, so that gives them a bit of confidence going into this. But don't rule out North. Can they get one?
Yeah, I in my eyes, I'm tipping North. I think North are a better side than the latter shows. I think they've had some disappointing games, obviously, and they've let themselves down a bit. But I think the potential for North to play good football is there. And I know the potential for Melbourne to play terrible football is also there. So I think of both playing to the favour of that. I still think North can win this game. And obviously no advantage of them playing at Adelaide Oval either. So, I think North will take this one, but I think it'll be a very, very close game. And it could be one of the better games of the round, considering they're both sort of equal level at the moment.
Yeah, for sure. I think if North win this, the pressure's going to go right back onto Melbourne. If it probably hasn't, it's probably been relieved a tiny bit from the weekend. But I think if North can roll Melbourne, then geez, look out. The media is going to hunt the Demons. We'll move on to Monday. We've got St Kilda and Geelong at the Gabba. This is potentially the game of the round, and it's going to be. If the Saints can beat Geelong, then we can really lock them in for a top 4 spot and a real contender come season's end. What are your thoughts on that?
I agree with you 100%. And the Saints are just playing such exciting football at the moment. They're same as what we were saying about Gold Coast earlier in the year. They're good to watch. The way they move the ball, they're fast paced. They've got so many exciting players to watch. Jack Steele, Dan Butler, King. It's good. And I think they've definitely got the ability to beat Geelong. And vice versa. Geelong are another good side. And like you said, game of the round for sure in my eyes.
Yeah, 100%. But this is the sort of game where Geelong really do flex their muscles against, I think Geelong play their best footy against another good side. And I think this is a big chance for the Cats. In saying that, St Kilda are playing fantastic footy, but they haven't really beaten, like the last couple of weeks, they've beaten Sydney and Gold Coast. So this is going to be a huge test for them. And if they can get up, then 100%. Let's lock in the Saints for a top 4 finish this season. But I think the Cats win just. I think it'd be a real close one, but I think Geelong would just get up.
Yeah, I'm tipping Geelong as well. Just looking at their performance against West Coast a couple of weeks ago, like you said, they play a lot better against good sides. They did just lose to West Coast, but the way they played, I think, if they play that against the Saints, they'll get the job done.
Yep. The other game on the Monday, we've got Freo and Hawthorn at Optus Stadium. Both sides coming off a bye, so they're both going to be relatively fresh. And they're both coming off great wins as well. but can Freo back it up? That is the big question. They beat Collingwood, which is a great win, and if they can beat Collingwood, then surely they can beat a Hawthorn side that isn't at their best this season. What do you reckon? Can the Dockers win this one?
Yeah, definitely. I've said this a lot this year, but it really just depends which Hawthorn decides to come out and play. We've seen, Hawthorn play at their best, when they, not to bring it back up, when they beat you guys last week, and then, they beat Richmond early in the year and had a good start. And then, they've had a lot of disappointing losses as well. So it depends which Hawthorn comes out. But I think Freo have given themselves a fair bit of confidence now. Coming off a bye, they're well rested. I think Freo can get the job done, and especially at Optus Oval.
Yep, for sure. Yeah, I'm going to tip Freo just because it's at home. Hawthorn, as I said, they are coming off a pretty good win. And but I think Freo, they've even in their losses this season, they've actually looked pretty good. So in front of their home crowd, I think Freo win, and I think they'll win by 2 or 3 goals. So and then that'll put them up to 4 wins for the season, which puts them right in the mix almost. That puts them in that pack, which is crazy to think. But yeah, Freo for mine. Tuesday football, we've got Adelaide and Collingwood at Adelaide Oval. Surely Collingwood can't lose this one.
Well, yeah. Yeah. If Collingwood drop this one, then I don't know how to feel about them anymore. Although it is a chance for Adelaide to capitalise on an extremely depleted Collingwood.
Yeah.
I still can't see Collingwood. I feel like even the players Collingwood have in still are good enough to beat Adelaide. I feel like an under-9s team is good enough to beat Adelaide at the moment. So it's hard to see Collingwood losing. Although Adelaide Oval, Adelaide have got their fans. They've played some decent quality football there in the last few weeks. They've lost most of their games, but they've played all their games.
They've lost all of them games.
Yeah, they've lost all their games. But but they've played. So they've showed some signs down there, Adelaide, and Collingwood have shown some poor signs. I don't know. I still tip in Collingwood, but I think it could be closer than a lot of people are predicting.
Yeah, definitely tipping Collingwood. But yeah, as you said, Adelaide have actually been pretty competitive at Adelaide Oval. They've been in games. They've had their chances to win them as well. So I think if they can get within touching distance, I think they're a chance to potentially sneak a win. But I feel like the Collingwood just have a fair bit of depth, and I think they can cover the lot, especially against an Adelaide team who are arguably the worst team we've seen in 50 years. So I think Collingwood still win that one. All right, the last game of the round comes on the Wednesday. It's between Gold Coast and Essendon at Metricon Stadium. And geez, this is a huge opportunity for the Suns to stay in touch with the 8 and get a good win here.
Yeah, and I think it'll be a really exciting game too, because both teams are in a similar position at the moment, both looking for a win. And they're both sort of sitting in the same sort of spot. I'm just excited to see how Gold Coast respond. They've had a couple of, like you said, honourable losses. We mentioned earlier the word honourable losses, but I don't know. I'm just excited for this one, and I feel like the Gold Coast will win this game. I don't know. I'm enjoying watching their football at the moment. They're very exciting. I think they can definitely get the win. Yeah,
100%. I think, obviously Essendon have their issues, and they've got some weaknesses that can easily be exposed. And I think Gold Coast are the team to do that. They play fast, exciting football, and they've got dangerous players like Isaac Rankin who lit it up last week, and I can't see anyone from Essendon really stopping him this week. So I think it's a massive opportunity for the Suns, and if they can beat Essendon, that rules out Essendon for this season. And I think vice versa as well. I think if Essendon beat Gold Coast, that probably rules out the Suns too. So it's a huge game. So it's going to be a ripper on Wednesday night. I want to tip Gold Coast because it's at home, and they've been playing pretty good footy lately too. So I think Gold Coast win in a pretty close game.
Yeah, I agree. Gold Coast for me as well.
Yeah. All right. That is all games done for round 11. There's only one game missing from the round. So there's 2 teams with a bye. So it's almost a full round of footy. So that ends on the Wednesday. And then I think the next round starts on the Friday. So I think we're getting back into a traditional time slot of footy, which is good for the traditionalists. But it has been it's been a real festival footy lately, which has been great to see.
Great for us, but I think the players will definitely enjoy having the week's break.
Oh, for sure. All right, let's get into the debate question for the week. As most of you would have seen via our social media over the last few days, we posted our mid-year All-Australian team. So we'll put the question to you guys now. Who would you add to our mid-year All-Australian team? So check out our Instagram story for that, and just drop in the question box who you think should be in there, who you think shouldn't be in there, and we'll discuss it in an episode we do next week, where we're going to run through our All-Australian team and why we picked players in each position, and then we'll chuck your feedback into that episode as well. So so just check out our Instagram story for that. That'll be there, and we might give you a shout out if your feedback's worthy of it. I know there's
so no more silly responses of martial artists from the 80s and things like that. Well, wouldn't mind some serious responses this week. We do love the other ones. They are funny, give us a laugh, but we wouldn't mind some serious ones so we can have something to seriously debate.
Just don't write Mason Cox, whatever you do. All right. Well, that is a wrap for this episode. It's been great. It's as I said, this season is just throwing up many talking points. There's always something to talk about. There's always some controversial topics, which we love. But yeah, as we say every week, make sure you leave us a review, subscribe to us on YouTube, give us a like, leave some comments. We appreciate all the feedback that comes through. It helps us get our podcast out to everyone that can see it. So it's anything that you leave us is greatly appreciated. But yeah, have a great weekend. We hope your team wins, and tune in next week for our mid-year All-Australian review. Pressure point, pressure right.